Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Patriots Report. My name is Christopher Price, the Boston Globe and bostonglobe.com. Joining me as always, a podcast partner, Chris Hogan. Chris, let's get right into it. There was a training camp fight
Yeah.
Wednesday morning. There were two fights, actually. They weren't fights, they were scraps, dust ups.
Yeah.
No punches were thrown. But we saw Mike Vrabel get cut. The coach was bloodied.
No.
I'm curious if you ever saw a training camp fight result in blood, basically. And I know it's not like, let's make sure that Vrabel wasn't gushing blood out of his head or something.
Yeah, he had a
But
little scratch.
yeah, he had a little scratch. He wandered into the fray to break things up between Marshawn Lattimore and Kayshon Boutte. At least that's our understanding. And he got a scratch on his face.
No, I never saw blood. Fights are always not encouraged by the head coach or by any coach. Obviously, you get into training camp, we're 2 weeks in, people are tired, you got a new team, you're scrimmaging and practicing against another opponent. So it's nice to see new faces line up across from you, but that also brings a certain level of competition and aggressiveness
Mm-hmm.
because it's training camp, like this is these practices are being evaluated probably far more than they have been in the last couple of weeks because it's okay. This is a new opponent. We haven't seen these guys. Like, how are they going to react? How are they going to play against Marshawn Lattimore and some of these other guys that, on the Commanders? So, I never saw blood in a fight. I've seen my fair share of fights. I mean, listen, I've been in them, and most of them are scraps. If you're throwing punches with helmets on, I'm just going to call it how it is. You're an idiot. But I haven't seen guys throw punches. If the big guys are fighting, stay out of it. You want no part of that business because if you go in there, then you're liable to catch a stray punch, and you just don't want to take a punch from a 300-pound D lineman or one of those big guys. So always let those guys sort it out. I personally love fights because for two reasons. You got guys that are fighting for their lives, man, and they're competing. And you can't expect grown men who are fighting for their jobs and their livelihood to not take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So fights can go one of two ways, right? It's never personal, hopefully, right? It's just guys competing. One guy gets pissed off because he got beat, or he thought the other guy was going too hard, or he held on to his jersey for too long. It's something silly. It's something serious, and it kind of gives you this. It kind of livens up the practice a little bit, right? So regardless of if you're in the play or not in the play, you see it. You're like, oh, okay, like defense is on one today, or offense is ready to go today. So I better kind of up my level of competition, tenacity, and aggressiveness. And hopefully you have one fight, it doesn't spiral out of control, and it goes into a full on brawl between offense and defense. But that's controlled by the head coach, and typically, you get into the locker room and it's over. All right, so. I'm all about it as long as guys are not getting hurt and being stupid. If you're getting in each other's faces and you're just competing, like, yeah, man, like all for it. And for Mike to be in there, I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm still surprised that he hasn't put pads on. Like, I'm ready. I'm ready for him to come out for the next video that I see on social media. Is that Mike Vrabel, head coach of the New England Patriots, has completely suited up and is going in live team drills, 9-on-9 goal line. I mean, I'm ready. I'm seriously, man, I'm ready for him to be in that situation. But it's good to see the fighting guys, and it's training camp, man. This is what you expect.
What was the nastiest fight you ever saw? Like like guys really squaring off with each other, guys throwing punches to the point where maybe everyone else around him is like, whoa, let's kind of dial this back a little bit, where it gets really heated.
I seen a couple of them early on in my career in Buffalo where, it inevitably, it's always, this is how it plays out. It's a starter, and then it's a guy fighting for his job. That's always how it plays out. Because the starter always thinks that guy's going too hard, or he's doing something silly, or, you're in thud practice or shells, and the defensive line is rushing too hard, and they're you know hooting and hollering, saying, "Oh, I got a sack," blah 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 blah. Next play, offensive lineman's pissed off, so he freaking jabs him in the throat, or I've never seen again like you have to be stupid to be throwing punches and doing all. But I have seen some guys like really get after it, man. It's always the bigger guys too.
Mhm.
Always the scrappier wide receiver, D backs. Like, I mean, it's you. Honestly, the fight for those guys is how you saw Keyshawn Butte and Marshawn Lattimore say. One guy, it's stock blocking. One guy holds on for too long, then the other guy holds on, and it's like, okay, who's either going to toss who, and then it's over because by that time it's broken up. But again, I stayed out of those big boy fights because I had no business being in there.
Whether it was the fights or just a joint practice going up against a team that made the playoffs last year, or the fact that Jason Tatum, Danny Amendola, Robert Kraft, John Bon Jovi was out there, or the nice, whatever it was, there was a buzz at training camp on Wednesday that kind of harkened back to the good old days for a few minutes anyway. They had the people, they had standing room only, they had people on the ramps outside of Gillette Stadium watching kind of, way, with binoculars and stuff. And it felt like there was a buzz for the first time in a long, long time. And I'm curious, I know you're kind of removed from it, but do you kind of get a sense that, I don't want to say the Patriots are back, but maybe the Patriots are kind of starting to be a little bit relevant again when you consider the fact that, hey, there's stuff going on up there. We want to pay attention to the Patriots. We want to pay attention to what's going on there with Mike Vrabel and Drake May. And look, Jason Tatum's showing up to practice, and Bon Jovi is there. And there's some old players there. Patrick Chung was in the building the other day. And there's a sense of, hey, we might have something here.
Cautious optimism.
Yes. Pump the brakes.
Listen, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna hit the e-brake on that one. I mean, it's great to see. I think people are excited about Mike. I think that he's bringing a lot of energy and excitement to Boston and to New England, and yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it, and I hate to say it, is we're praying. We're hoping that we're back, right? I mean, John Bon Jovi, Dola, Jules, Patrick Chung, I saw the McCourty twins up there. I mean, I get it. It's training camp, and we literally know nothing about this football team. And we're not going to know. We're going to see some stuff today, and we're going to see some stuff in the next preseason game. But again, we have no idea until week 1 of this season of what this team is going to be like. And I'll tell you right now, you're probably not going to know for the first 4 games of the season because things are going to change. So it's like, I get it. I want to feel it too. But we haven't seen this team take a live snap of football yet. And yes, is Drake May. Oh, he looks great, and he beat out Jaden Daniels. It's fucking training camp. Like, it's training camp. Like, dude, like, they're not real live bullets. You're not getting hit. We're thud practice. You're not getting taken to the ground. You're not out there for 60, 70 snaps over the course of the game. Like, I love it. It's great. The energy. I love that guys are going back. I think largely in part due to Mike. And I think that it's the guys want to be there for Mike and for this team. And those guys too, man, they want this team to get back to where when we were playing. Mm-hmm. I remember walking out in my first training camp experience. I'm out there probably like an hour early in training camp. And I was blown away, man. I mean, but the people all the way up in the rafters and running on, I was like, whoa, this is a new level of training camp experience for me. And don't get me wrong, there was people up in St. John Fisher in the middle of Rochester when I was in Buffalo, but not like this. I mean, this was intense. And listen, I have Tom and all those guys and Gronk and those are the glory days for this franchise, and hopefully, like people are seeing a little bit more, right? They're excited about Josh. They're excited about Drake. They're probably seeing some more practice. Guys making plays. The offense is looking good. Vrabel's mixing it up and jumping in fights. Like, so there's certainly a good amount of energy and excitement around this football team right now. But and I don't want to be that guy. And I hope for everyone that's listening, you're not going to get angry at me. But we haven't played it down in football yet.
Yeah. No, it's completely fair.
We have zero idea of what this football team is going to be like. And given the last couple of seasons, I'm not going to go out and say, hey, this is a playoff team, because we don't know that yet. And sure, am I hoping that we go out there and we win football games? Yeah, absolutely. Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see New England win football games, but we haven't shown that yet, and we haven't shown really anything. So, you're only as good as your last down of football. We haven't even played it down of football yet. So everything is yet to be seen, but sure, I am excited about what I've seen so far.
First preseason game coming up tomorrow night against the Commanders. We're taping this on Thursday morning, August 7th. So the first preseason game is just over 24 hours away. For this team, measure for me the importance of winning and understanding what it is to win, even in the preseason, against getting your work in and honing your craft and continuing to get better as a team and as an individual.
So typically, I've been on teams where I think winning is important. I do. I think that this team has to feel that, and has to feel a win regardless of who's out there or when the starters play, if they don't play. I just think as a whole, I think this organization this team and Mike and everything. I think they need to know what it feels like to win football games. I think going out there and losing in the preseason, I mean, listen, it is what it is, it's preseason. But I think that it builds on this excitement, and it builds on this, this trend that we're kind of going like this. I really, if we lose, it is what it is. You and I can sit here on Thursday morning. We're not going to talk about the team. We're going to talk about individuals and how they shaped out and how they panned out and what we expected and what surprised us. But if I would love to see them win these preseason games and just be competitive, right? Regardless of who's out there. That being said, I think it's also important, right? The preseason is not for listen, at this point, we know who's going to be on, or we don't know, but the team knows, right? Yeah. They know who's going to be on this football team. There's a few spots that are up for grabs, and we're going to be watching those receivers, who's going to grab that fifth spot, or who's going to be, maybe we keep six, who knows, and who's going to grab that spot, who's going to be the backup corners and all these different things. So there's a lot of eyes on those guys. And I think that it's just important for when the starters do get out there that they get into a rhythm, right? And I think Josh is going to be pretty aware of that. These are going to be his first time calling plays with Drake and this offense entirely. So I do believe that maybe we'll see a little bit more of them than we do typically for starters, but I think that would be just for a ramp up, right? To get into the first game of the season, so that once we get there, they're used to how Josh is going to call a third short or a third and long, or they have some sort of expectation of how we're going to have Josh's openers are going to be like. What are they going to be like? What are our core plays going to be? So. But again, that's up to the coaching staff. Every single coach is different. Some coaches are just going to rest their guys and keep them healthy and want to stay healthy going into the season. Some coaches are different, right? They want to see their guys out there and compete. So I guess that'll remain to be seen until tonight and for the rest of the preseason.
When it comes to playing in the preseason, everyone's different. Everyone's situation is different. Everyone's spot on the depth chart is different. But are there guys who raise some eyebrows as to when they go out there? I'll use the example a few years ago, it was like 2009, I think. John Lynch was on the Patriots, was trying to make a comeback with the Patriots. And we've seen guys like this for a long time. Eric Decker was here for, playing in the second half of the last preseason game.
Yeah.
and you sit and you think to yourself, boy, that's not a great sign.
Yeah.
That's not a good, like if a starter or a guy who's on the bubble is playing at that time, that's
Yeah.
not great for their chances to make the final 53-man roster.
Yeah.
Do players recognize that? Are they cognizant of that in
Yeah.
those type of situations? Like, boy, this doesn't look good. I got to go out here. I got to play my ass off if I want a chance to make this. But I know it's not looking good for me if I'm out there in the second half of the final preseason game.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you're, especially in the final preseason game, if you're out there and either A, you're playing majority of the game or you're going out there in the second half, third, fourth quarter, I'm not going to say the writing's on the wall. Maybe for some guys, they just want to see some more film and they want to see, get a little bit more of an evaluation if they're one of the bubble guys. But if you're one of those veteran guys that have come back or you're, like Eric was a great example. I mean, I love Eric and he had a phenomenal career and he came to us kind of in the last part of his career and it just wasn't it right for him. And, he was one of those guys that retired that year, I'm pretty sure, after he got released from New England. So yeah, listen, kind of where you fall in the depth chart for when you're going in these football games. The preseason is for the starters to get live action, to get taken to the ground, to get their football lungs, kind of in shape for the season and to kind of feel out, everybody when we're really going out there and playing, from first to fourth down and moving on and special teams and getting kind of all three phases kind of going together.
Mm-hmm.
But then the other part of the preseason is this football team is made up of 53 guys. We know probably 90% of who's going to be on this team. The other 10%, we have to see. You're going to see a guy that's going to come out in the preseason, whether not saying in New England, but this year you'll see some undrafted or lower level draft guy that's going to come out and he's going to be like, oh, where did this kid come from? And he's going to make a football team. And, how did he do it? Well, he did it in training camp by doing well day after day after day. But then when he went out in the preseason, when the lights came on and he only had a few opportunities, he made most of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I was one of those guys.
There you go.
Just kept fighting
and
did all the right things. Was out there for 4 quarters of some preseason games. Offense, every single phase of special teams. Like it's a grind, man. Those last couple of preseason games are a grind because they'll tell you, man, like there is no shying away from it either. Listen, you are going to be tired. You are not coming out of this football game because all of our starters are in sneakers over there chewing sunflower seeds on the sideline. So don't look for anyone to come in the game. And then when you're done, if you get off the field, like you're going on all 4 phases of special teams and we expect you to be out there and do the right thing and make the play. It's intense. You have a lot of guys that are fighting for their lives in those games. And I personally, I root for those guys because I've been there. I know what it feels like. I know what that day after feels like. And it's the preseason can be, depends on where you fall, right? It could be one of those things that you're just looking to get over with so that you can move on to the season and get everything going and get your guys and really get moving in the direction that you want your football team to go. And then you got guys that are just fighting for their lives, man. And it's one of those things that you have to. I loved being on teams where the starters were on the sidelines and they were cheering those guys on. Because that to me was a football team that cared about their people because you're going through training camp, you're putting in the work together. And when you got a guy like Tom Brady or Julian or, when I was in Buffalo, Fred Jackson, Stevie Johnson, but Mario Williams, you got guys that are on the side getting excited for the young guys that are out there that they've been there before, man. Like they've been there before. That gives those kids life. Like it gives them life that they're out there and getting excited. Because if you're not, it's just like, God dang, like you're freaking tired as all hell. You can barely walk the day after. It's like, what was it all for? But it makes it worth it when you make a play and those guys are on the sideline, like get get the whole team into it, and you know that you're on a good football team if that's happening.
The Chargers sideline during the Hall of Fame game, like a week
Yeah,
ago, was great to see.
yeah,
And it was filled with guys like that, guys who were starters, guys who were cheering on, the third and fourth. And it's to your point, and I think it's a good one that you're able to see that sort of connection. You're able to see that sort of bond, and that's kind of
yeah.
fun to see. One of the things that I always try to keep in mind when it comes to, especially the last preseason game, is understanding that you're seeing guys out there who are going to be playing their last snaps in professional football.
Yeah.
And that they're going to get cut on Labor Day weekend, and they're going to go on and they're going to become a tire salesman, or they're going to sell insurance or something, and they're going to have the jersey up on the wall in the office, and they're going to say, you know what, I got to play with Drake May for 3 weeks in the summer, and it was the best 3 weeks of my life, and he was a great guy, and we roomed together and we did the rookie skits it was just absolutely fantastic. And I always want to be mindful of those guys, and I always want to honor those guys, because they're going to have to start a whole new life.
Yep.
They've been playing football for 20, 30 years, and now they got to shift their focus. And so for me, from a reporter's point of view, I just want to be mindful of those guys. I want to understand that what those guys are going through, trying to understand what they're going through. One of the guys who might be going through that, I don't think he's going to be going through that, but might be going through that, is Efton Chism.
Yep.
And I'm curious, he talked with us this week, and he said that Josh is having him watch Danny Amendola film, understanding what Danny did in a Josh McDaniels offense. And if you can replicate that, your chances of making this roster go from here to here.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I know that was a practice that was used an awful long time, or has been used an awful long time by Josh. It was used by Bill. Who did they have you watch when you were watching film in Foxborough, and they would say, look, Chris, we want you to play just like this guy? Who did you watch when it came to film?
I mean, I was always a guy that watched everyone because I tried to, early on in my career, I tried to bottle my game after so many different people, because I was a different body type than Danny and Jules, and I was bigger, but I could play in the slot and I could play outside. So Wes, Julian, Danny, Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones, I can go up and down a list of guys that I would watch, and I would always try to pick some part of their game, whether it was a release or how they ran a route, how physical they were, at the line of scrimmage or down the field. I always tried to watch everyone. And when I got to New England, I think a majority of it was just watching the offense, right? And it was kind of how Josh wants things done very specifically. So if it was a slant route versus press, like how does Josh want to run, or how does Tom want to run? If it was a drift route, how does Tom want this to look like? So a lot of that was watching Julian. So it really route specific, that's really what it came down to. If it was a juke route, I was watching Julian and Danny, right? If it was outside, I was watching whoever the hell was outside. I mean, you can go up and down the list. There's a lot of guys that have been on that football team that have done it. It's tough to watch Randy Moss and replicate Randy Moss, but like there were some things that you watched. Like we would throw on Randy tape, like, hey man, like watch how he runs a deep ball. Watch the late hand, all those little nuances that Josh and Tom would talk about and they would like to see. So I spent a lot of time watching a lot of film from training camp, from past years, from 10 years ago, 15, all the way up until the present when I was there, of just how specific all these routes looked and they wanted them to look. And then I would go out and try to replicate it. And then obviously learn from watching myself. So I do listen. If Josh is coming to you and telling you to watch Danny Amendola film, then he obviously sees something.
Mm-hmm.
Josh is not the type of guy to waste his time with somebody that doesn't is not going to be there or he doesn't see something. So that in and of itself should give him a little bit of confidence and that, yeah, like, hey, I could see you as a Danny Amendola type route runner. Danny was Julian, those, myself, like smart football players, very aggressive, super, like contributed a lot in the run game, like was not afraid to mix it up, was just crafty, right? Like got open. A lot of those routes you had to be crafty at the line of scrimmage to get your leverage and get open and know exactly what the coverage was and where to sit down and when to break out. So watching those guys, I mean, he'll learn a lot from watching that film. So um, hopefully he took that seriously and he's really studying that film. There's a lot of it, and he'll be able to watch a lot of film and watch a lot of good football from those guys, especially Danny and Jules, in the slot. And those are two of the best that have done it, in that offense. And they were just very good at getting open and catching the football and quarterback friendly, right? I mean, that's what
Yeah,
Drake
that's
needs.
the
He
thing.
needs a,
I
he
mean,
needs a
yeah,
guy. He
yeah.
needs guys that are going to get open. They're going to catch the football and move the chains.
Mhm.
He needs those guys. So, listen, whether he makes the 53 or not, it sounds like to me that he's going to be on this team in some
Yeah.
way, shape, or form. And he's just got to keep kind of building and growing as a football player.
I keep going back and forth with him because I wonder if just because we're seeing him every day, we're overrating him a little bit. And I think of Malik Cunningham a couple of years ago where we're all like,
Yeah.
you got to find a way to keep Malik Cunningham on the roster. Then you cut him loose and it's like, well, nobody really wanted him. So
Yeah.
I think he's going to make the team. I think he's going to be one of a handful of rookies, maybe a couple of UDFAs who's going to end up making the team. When it comes to rookies, and I asked him this week, and I asked Braden Swinson, the pass rusher from LSU, and a couple other guys. Braden Swinson has a very specific responsibility in the defensive end edge rusher's room. And as a rookie, he needs to keep the snack table stocked.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what did you have the rookies do, not just in New England, but where in other places? I know that rookie initiations, and I'm putting on my quote fingers here when I say that, have changed over the years, but what were some of the responsibilities that you guys as wide receivers assigned rookies when they were in their first few weeks in the league in training camp?
Snacks is always an easy one. So, you spend a lot of time in the film room and the meeting rooms during training camp. So you go first couple of days of training camp, you get in there, and then everyone, I'm in New England, we used to write, all the guys used to write down what they wanted, and whether it was candy or some sort of drink or seeds, sunflower seeds, a lot. We go through. I mean, I would love to actually know how many bags of sunflower seeds is consumed over the course of an NFL season, because I guarantee you it's some absurd amount of number. But sunflower seeds, you had to have the flavors. So it wasn't just regular barbecue, ranch, whatever it was. If it was candy, you had to have the candy. So always the meeting rooms always had to be stocked. There's always had to be water. Yeah, whatever the veteran guys wanted in there, they would have in there. I think some of the other little things, if you go on the road and you're going on an away game, you put in your order. Most teams have something for you, but most guys like to get, whatever it is, right? Come to an agreement as a group, like, hey, we're ordering from this place, Chick-fil-A, you need to go pick up Chick-fil-A for everyone. Make sure that you're at the plane on time, early, and that you get everyone their order accordingly and right, and don't mess it up, sort of thing. So, and you never tasked one of the rookies. You always tasked them as a group for them to figure it out. And I was always around some, good guys. I mean, they did what was asked of them. I never was a guy that wanted to be like, hey man, like carry my bags and do this and make sure that go refill my what. Like I didn't really care about that because I've been in their shoes before, but I also have been there like, hey, go grab snacks. That's really not that hard, right? You're doing your this is your tiny initiation into a brotherhood of this team. And if you can't do that, then I don't really know if you really want to be there. So, just make sure the seeds are in there and everyone will be happy.
You sound like it sounds like the tight end room is particularly lenient. We talked to G. Scott, who's an undrafted free agent, and he said Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper just so nice. It's just like, just get whatever, man. Just get whatever. It's all good. So, did you ever screw up as a rookie? Did you ever not?
Hell no.
Okay.
I don't care. I didn't, as a young player, I don't care if they told me to walk with my left shoe on my right foot and my right foot on my left. I was doing anything that anyone asked me, man. Like, I was not screwing up anything. You've been around some of the veteran guys. I think you also try to feel out these younger kids, and
Yeah.
and you're like, and if they don't do it right away, you start giving them a hard time just to kind of push on some buttons and see how they react. And, it's all fun, man. You're in training camp for God knows how many hours and stay there late nights. And, at some point you got to try to have a little bit of fun with it and, give some guys some hard times or make them, go late night, run to, the 7-Eleven down the street to make sure that we have seeds that are, stocked in the meeting rooms for the next couple of weeks. But it's all part of training camp and it's all good fun. And I was never in a locker room or on a football team or even really ever saw, people ever be disrespectful, because there's no room for that in a locker room or a football team. And that I loved. And I loved when the rookies took on their responsibilities and they really they enjoyed it, right? Like, hey, I'm a rookie. It's my first time playing the NFL. Like, yeah, I'll do whatever you guys want. I'm going to go all out in my rookie skit, or when they ask me to sing, like, I'm going to belt out some ridiculous song. And dude, guys love that, man. They love that. And coaches love it. And guess what? You're damn sure you're being evaluated on it too.
Just the ability to work with.
Yeah, there's
the ability to work with other guys.
There's some scout that's going to be sitting in that meeting room and be like, hey, so-and-so, he's got a good voice, man. I mean, or he sucked up there, but he gave it his all. He's like, yeah, man, he wants to be here. He loves it. And guys love him. He's a good locker room guy. Oh, and he also plays pretty damn good football. So the more you can do, the more you can do.
Got two personnel questions here before we wrap up. First of all, Terry McLaurin, wide receiver with Washington, has demanded a trade. Wants out of Washington, and he's in a really interesting situation. He has one more year left on his deal. He's going to want a new deal. Adam Schefter says that he's going to command somewhere upwards of $30 million. I think it was $33 million annually. If you're Elliott Wolf, do you make that call? And if so, why or why not?
I mean, I would, I definitely would knock on some doors, see what they're after. Who knows? Could be a trade just might not make any sense, and they're going to be asking for, too much, and it might not really fit for New England. But I would certainly, kick the can on that one a little bit. I mean, kid's a good football player. I mean, he's had over 1,000 yards in every single season that he's played. And
yeah.
I don't think anyone really expected him to be the type of receiver that he was when he first came in the league, but he's proved it year in and year out that he can play. And I think that he's earned, a payday. He's definitely earned it. So, and you're seeing that so much more these years where these guys are just like, hey, I see this guy getting paid, but I'm making X this year. It's like, well, this doesn't quite add up to me. Yeah. So listen, in the NFL, I don't blame them. I don't.
Mm-hmm. Window's so short.
Yeah. I really don't, man. I mean, the fact that Jamar Chase went out there last year and did what he did, not underneath a deal with really. I mean, listen, I'm sure he had some insane insurance policy that if he did get hurt, he would have cashed out on it anyways. But you just don't know, man. You don't know this, and not for long, right? And the injury rate is 100%. So I don't blame these guys for trying to go get what they're worth. And for a guy like that, I think that he deserves to get paid. And for the team and if a team is not going to support that and the management is not going to give him any sort of indication that they want to pay him, then yeah, go find somewhere that wants you. Right. I mean, that's a pretty good football player that is, a lot of teams would probably want on their football team. So, um, we'll see how that one plays out.
I think if they can figure out the compensation in terms of a return to Washington, I think you definitely have to make that call. I don't know how successful it's going to be. And if Washington wants 2 first rounders or something like that, it's not going to work. But
Yeah.
they have the money, they have the financial flexibility. They can at least make the call and kind of sound out what Washington might want. Final question for me. Our guy, Joe Milton.
Yeah, I've been waiting to talk about this.
You were fired up about this, man. You texted me seeing Joe Milton videos out of Dallas. He is
He's lighting it up.
He's lighting it up. He's always been fun to watch. Look, he's always been a barrel of laughs and has the big arm and has the great personality. And I wonder sometimes seeing that and seeing Josh Dobbs. I think in the long run, the Patriots made the right move, but you look at Joe Milton and see what he's doing now in Dallas and you go, well, maybe, who knows?
I watched a video of it was the quarterbacks in Dallas. Dak was they were throwing into the net, right? Dak's on the run and he throws one in the dirt. And then all of a sudden it like the screen blows up. It's like, here's the future of Dallas. And you see Joe on the run. It's just a dart right into the square. I laugh because I'm like talking about Joe and saying that he's not going to do anything. Lights it up in the last preseason game. And you know what? The fact that I have to eat my words and listen, I hope this kid has a freaking 20-year career and he gets a chance and he just keeps getting better and better and better. And when his number gets called at some point throughout his career, he just takes off because I tell you, man, he is fun to watch. I started watching the video. I mean, his arm is electric. I mean, he is athletic. I mean, he's got all the tangibles that you could ask for in a quarterback. So I think it's honestly, this could be breaking news here, but I think he just needs an opportunity at somewhere to play, and he might surprise a lot of people. So I'll be watching Dallas preseason games this year for sure, just to watch our guy Joe out there light it up.
It feels like the first step in the Joe Milton experience, where I want to talk to Dallas writers and be like, look, I know how this goes. You fall in love with the physical, you fall in love with the arm. He's a charming, charismatic guy, and he'll do just enough to really intrigue you and go, hey, maybe there's something there with this guy. But then you start to see little kind of, drawbacks in his game, and you say, okay, well, this, and then it kind of plays out as we saw.
Yeah. So I'm going to go on the Joe Milton defense here is, I think that he was a very raw quarterback.
Yeah.
Listen, at Tennessee, he was asked to do nothing but chuck the ball as far as he could. Mm-hmm. He didn't have to read defenses. He didn't have to do any sort of check downs because really his check down was just to tuck it and run. And I think that given some time as he matures as a quarterback in the league, listen, again, the tangibles are there. If he can get it up here and he learns how to play this game, I mean, decent quarterback. Yeah. I think so.
Look,
it's all about opportunity, man. It really is. And it's all in his hands. Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's Alex Van Pelt's greatest legacy in New England as the offensive coordinator, the one and done offensive coordinator. That he found a way to, I don't want to say unlock Joe Milton, but turn him from just a raw college, just an arm, basically, into a guy who could read an NFL defense and could play at a relatively competent level. So
and screw us out of out of the first pick of the NFL draft.
I was talking to Will Campbell.
There's his legacy.
I was talking to Will Campbell after the in-stadium practice, and I'm standing there thinking, if Joe Milton, if they lose that game, I'm talking to Travis Hunter instead of Will Campbell.
Yeah.
And like Will Campbell's in Jacksonville somewhere,
Yeah.
or Cleveland or some, somewhere else. And it's Travis Hunter who's here in New England
Yep.
as opposed to Will Campbell. Well, we got real football. I don't want to say real. Well, you know what? I shouldn't say real football, but we have preseason football tomorrow night, Friday night, August 8th, 7:30, Patriots-Commanders. So we're going to have some X's and O's to talk about when we get together next time. I am flying out to Minnesota next Tuesday. So I'm going to be remote for the joint practices between the Patriots and the Vikings. And there's all sorts of fun stuff out there. Brian Flores, Steph Diggs returns to Minnesota, all sorts of stuff to talk about next week from the land of 10,000 lakes. So until then, Chris Hogan, I will let you go. As always, I appreciate your time and we'll talk soon.
Appreciate you. Can't wait.